Okay, so today I'm listening to a 10-minute orchestra piece by Victor Rasgado called Quetzaltepec. It was written in 1994. Just a couple days ago, we listened to another piece by Rasgado, episode number below. And way back in the chamber orchestra series, we listened to his opera, Anacleto Morones. In that episode, you can also find his biography, which I go over briefly. And this piece, I know almost nothing about it, and it's a handwritten score. You'll notice that there's a lot of divisi in the strings, as called for in the instrumentation page here. The full instrumentation is 3-3-3-3, 4-3-3-1, harp, piano, 3 percussionists, and violins. So 12 first violins, 12 second violins, 12 violas, 8 cellos, and 4 basses. There is a little bit of auxiliary instruments going on. One of the flautists is on piccolo, one of the oboists is on English horn, one of the clarinetists is on bass clarinet, and one of the bassoons is on contra. Percussion 1 has to deal with timbales, suspended cymbals, cowbells, and wood blocks. Percussion 2 has to deal with tam-tam, bongos, congas, marimba, and palo de agua. Percussion 3 is on large gong, some rototoms, it's not specified how many, wood chimes, bass drum, and vibraphone. So it looks like everybody gets some sort of pitched percussion instrument and then a bunch of unpitched things. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know what I'm in for here other than I've listened to a couple pieces by this composer already, and he does favor a lot of like sound massy things that use different parts of the ensemble. You can kind of see that here, like this opening has a lot of brass going on, and then it's just sort of like colored at the end. This gesture is like colored with like winds going down and strings going up. It's very like sort of almost brutalist kind of approach to using the ensemble. Let's have a listen to this. It's on this album that's freely available on YouTube. The link is in the video description. This album apparently has his tuba concerto and also his piano concerto, and it's all the Oaxaca Symphony, conducted by Juan Trigos. Okay, yeah, this is a really masterful little piece, and I think it's my favorite piece of Rasgado's that we've looked at so far. It's really has a nice blend of like more dissonant harmonies towards the beginning, and then it gets like gradually more and more consonant, and you get like these sort of modal things. And yeah, it really had a lot of cool moments where something that was introduced earlier like evolved into something completely different. For example, like the piano, like the entrance of the piano is very cool. It's like against this brass, sustained brass idea, which has already kind of been established from the beginning. And later on in the piece, you get like suddenly the full ensemble sustained, and then you have like the piano hocketing with like vibraphone, marimba, and harp, and it's really, a gorgeous moment. And there's just lots of things like that where like even if you trace that brass idea at the beginning throughout the piece, how it evolves, that's like the sort of sustained texture with little filigree things. It has a whole narrative of its own, and yeah, it's just a really pleasant 10 minutes of music that really gets you thinking about composing and form, and like, oh yeah, you can do like subtle things, you can do intuitively sounding like interesting things with form, and Yeah, it's just like a nice little tone poem, I think. Um, it also helps that the performance is very good. Um, and yeah, I'll have to check out the rest of this album at some point. I don't think I have the scores to the other two pieces, but this one's really cool. And also, the use of brass is sort of like a great counter argument for most of the things we read about in orchestration textbooks. It's like the brass throughout this piece is like everyone's playing, but they're extremely quiet. There's sections where the trombones are like doing these little glissandi, imitating the strings, like 20 seconds earlier, doing the same sort of little texture, and it's like so almost vocal sounding at this extremely quiet dynamic, and you would not know it's brass really if you just like listening to it. You might think it's just like voices or something. So there's really effective like textural background uses of brass, and sparing use of strings. This is sort of a pattern that we have seen in Rasgado's music. Preference for the brass choir, like as a choir. And yeah, it's just like they have the same dynamic range as any other family in the orchestra. There's no reason to save them for special effects when, they're as developed as any other family of instruments. And yeah, the piano and harp stuff was really tasteful too, and the piano had this like almost soloistic thing going on. That's something we've observed in a lot of Mexican scores, and I think Rasgado taught a number of the other composers that we've looked at. He's like a little bit of an older generation. Let me get his years actually. Yeah, 1959. So that's sort of like baby boomer generation. And I think some of his students were like Diaz Infante, which we looked at weeks ago, one of his orchestra pieces, and he might have also taught a couple other composers that we've looked at. But it's there's definitely like a lineage that you can see, and it's always a pleasure to like look at Mexican composers like this, because there's a real like sort of concentrated culture in and around Mexico City that produces these composers, and I just find it fascinating. Next up, let me see. Great. So next is actually our first piece by Valentin Silvestrov. It's this massive orchestra piece called Meta Music, one of his most famous orchestra pieces, and this is one that I learned about during my master's degree for a master class type course, with other graduate composers. So from a fond point in my life, haven't listened to it in 7 or 8 years now. So yeah, that'll be a fun one to get to on Wednesday.